Everybody, this is Rydo, and we're looking at the new cards for the WitchWood expansion of Hearthstone. Please subscribe and click the notification bell. So, right now, on the Asian account at least, you can look at the new cards. You have to go into crafting mode, which then lets you see that the WitchWood set is shown. If you're not in crafting mode, WitchWood is not there, and you go into crafting mode and then select WitchWood, and then you click include uncraftable cards because the cards can't be crafted right now. They all say not yet released. Last time we looked at the mage, and frankly not very happy with the cards that they're adding because it feels like that is going to only make people who play the main mage meta deck that's very annoying. I think even more people will start playing that. But let's move forward to our next hero class, the Paladin. First card we have is a 1-mana spell called Hidden Wisdom. It's a secret. After your opponent plays 3 cards in a turn, draw 2 cards. This is the second card we've seen, second secret we've seen in this expansion that triggers when your opponent plays 3 cards. We've had secrets that trigger when an opponent plays more than 3 minions. So now they're introducing potential penalties for somebody that tries to play more combo cards or multiple cheap cards. This will hurt people playing things like Murlocs, where you might play 3 Murloc cards in one turn pretty easily. It will hurt rogue cards that are trying to play combos. It'll hurt probably a lot more people, but in the long run it might also improve people that play those type of decks, including myself, because I love to play Murlocs. It might improve our skills a little bit by saying, no, you're not actually supposed to play all the cards that are in your hand. You're supposed to hold a couple cards back and have some options for the next turn. Very often I just want to rush into things and play all the Murlocs in my hand, and I often lose because of that. And I know I do it, but it's just an ingrained impulse as a video gamer to want to do everything you possibly can do. So that's interesting. I wonder if at a certain point it might be helpful for spells to have a label like the minions do. So if it's a beast minion, it might say beast down here. I wonder if secrets should just secondarily say secret down here, and spells should just say spell down here. That way there's just some consistency. Of course, a lot of minions aren't labeled, so there's nothing here. Anyways, like, here's a gargoyle. Clearly they could make in the future a gargoyle class of minions and expand, call this a gargoyle class of minion. Next card we have is a 2-mana, 2-attack, 2-health minion called the Cathedral Gargoyle. Battle cry: if you're holding a dragon, gain taunt and divine shield. Well, I still don't really have a reason why I think people would want to play too many dragons in their deck. But if you are going to do that, there certainly would be a good card to play. Almost certainly if you're playing a dragon's deck, you would be holding a dragon at all times, and taunt and divine shield on the second turn with a 2/2 minion is quite useful. Next we have a 2-mana spell called Rebuke. Enemy spells cost 5 more next time. So maybe you could play this against a mage and make their enemy spells cost a lot more for 1 turn, and that might save you for 1 turn. But I think more often than not, having a card like this in your deck is wasteful and not going to be that useful. So yeah, I can't really see that as being that useful. Next we have a 2-mana spell called Sound the Bells. It's a echo card, which means you can play multiple copies of it. So say you were on your 4th turn and had 4 mana, you could play 1 copy of this card and then a echo copy of the card will either end up in your hand, or maybe it will just prompt you right then and there whether you want to play a second copy. If it was your 10th turn, you could make 5 of these, and it gives a minion +1/+2. So on your 10th turn, you could very possibly give something +5/+10, which is quite the buff. I haven't been talking about rarity on cards. It doesn't really matter too much. In a lot of ways, the rarity is just this fictional thing that doesn't mean anything anyways. Legendaries and epics are rare, commons are very commons, rares are pretty common, and it really only has to do with your odds of getting, or at least some facade or perceived odds of what cards you'll get in a loot box, which honestly may not be true at all. But that does look like a good card. Next we have a 3 mana, 2 attack, 5 health minion called the Paragon of Light. While this minion has 3 or more attack, it has Taunt and Lifesteal. Interesting. Although for a Paladin, you're going to have to work a little harder to give it extra attack. I can't off the top of my head think of too many spells that are going to just give it extra attack. There's probably a couple out there. Certainly this would work on it. So you could play this on the 9th turn, play this on the 10th turn, give it a bunch of health and defense. Lifesteal, of course, is the key phrase, where for every damage it does, it increases your hero's health up to the maximum of 30. Next, we have a 4 mana minion for 3 attack and 4 health called the Bellringer Sentry. It has a Battle Cry and Death Rattle, which I do believe this is the first Death Rattle card we've seen in the new expansion. Put a secret from your deck into the battlefield. A secret Paladin deck probably works rather well, so I imagine this card is going to see a lot of play when the expansion comes out. Not, I guess, too much more to say about it, though. It looks like it's a fine card, and it looks like it does something. There are cards that double your Death Rattle and double your Battle Cry, so theoretically, if you had those other legendary cards on the field, you could have 4 secrets placed just because of this one card, like 2 when it's summoned, 2 when it dies. You only really have room for 5 secrets on the field anyways. You can't have more than that. No real explanation from Blizzard or Hearthstone why you can only have 5 secrets. It seems like as the game gets bigger and bigger, you should be able to have as many as you want. You can't have more than 1 copy of the same secret, I understand that, but there's so many different versions of secrets now. You can definitely have more than 5. Next we have a 4 mana, 4 attack, 3 health legendary minion called the Glass Knight, Divine Shield. Whenever you restore health, gain Divine Shield. So that might be a very playable minion for 4 mana. He starts off with Divine Shield. You can attack somebody and lose your Divine Shield, and then you could heal somebody and give it back. Not really a strategy that I think you'll use too much, and Divine Shield is only a Paladin ability, but it's something there. You would definitely want to play this in the deck where you're playing the legendary character, I believe he's a legendary character, that takes all the Divine Shields of your other minions and gains like +2/+2 for every Divine Shield lost. Particularly this creature could then restore his Divine Shield, but it wouldn't help in any way. Next we have a 5 mana, 3 attack, 4 health creature beast minion called the Ghostly Charger, Divine Shield and Rush. Rush, again, being the key phrase, meaning you can attack minions but not the hero. He's also Beast, which might synergize with a Beast deck, but probably not in a Paladin deck very often. It's a little bit expensive at 5 mana for being a 3 attack and 4 health, but it does have Rush and it does have Divine Shield. Although I'm not sure I would give it 1 attack for having Rush and 1 attack for having Divine Shield. And even if I did say having Divine Shield and Rush was the equivalent of a 5 attack, it's still only a 4 health, where I'd prefer it to be a 5 health. So not super hot on that card. I'm not super hot on a lot of these cards, actually. They do very much feel like they are just filler material, which is fine by me. I mean, I certainly got collections that need more classic cards than anything else, because classic cards will never get banned, or at least most of them won't. Some of them will go to the what they're calling the Hall of Fame, but whereas if I was to buy Whisper of the Old God cards, those are about to move into Wild and be like League of Explorers and Grand Tournament. So I have less of an impetus to buy Whisper of the Old Gods card than I do to buy classic cards, and I have less of an impetus to buy even the newest expansion WitchWood cards than I do to buy classic cards. So most players, I think, are best served buying 50 packs of classic cards until they have everything that they want out of classic cards before they open the new expansion. But that's not interesting, and so people aren't going to do that very often. They're going to buy the new cards and live with them for a year or two, and then they'll become wild cards. Although there certainly is a high number of people, I assume, that play Hearthstone for a couple of months, get bored and leave, and then maybe they come back, maybe they don't, but they're not playing every day or once every 3 days, which is the minimum that they want you to play for the daily quests. And even as somebody who plays every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, it's way too much Hearthstone that I play, and it's still a struggle to get all the cards. It really is a pay-to-win game. That's the real solution, is spend a lot of money, buy a lot of cards if you want to win. Next we have a 5 mana, 5 attack, 5 health legendary minion called Prince Liam. I assume that's how you pronounce that, Liam. Battlecry: transform all 1-cost cards in your deck into legendary minions. This would almost certainly work very well with a Murloc deck. Most Murloc cards are 1 cost. Transforming them into random legendary minions, probably a good thing on the 5th turn. It may be a little early to do that. The thing I see about this is also a balancing factor for a failed Murloc strategy. The legendary Murloc that gets, I believe, +1 attack for every other Murloc on the field costs 4 mana. So if by the 4th turn you haven't drawn and played that and won the game, you've probably failed your Murloc strategy. So having this 5 mana legendary and playing that and going, okay, my Murlocs don't work anymore, let me change all my Murlocs into random legendaries, re-roll the dice, and see if I can win there. It's not a great strategy. It's not transforming your cards into something that are known quantities or that synergize with each other, but it does give you a chance in a situation where you probably don't have much of a chance left. So if I get this card, I will probably put it in all my Murloc decks just for that reason. And I could certainly see in the Paladin decks too. There are reasons to play 1 mana creatures. There's, I believe, a card that gives all 1 mana creatures Divine Shield. So that this would just help those cheap Silverhand recruits that might be in your deck, although I don't know if you can actually have Silverhand recruits in your deck. And our final thing is, I believe, our first weapon of the expansion. Hearthstone has not been hot on weapons at all. They didn't like pretty much any of them that they've made up until this point, and they're trying to find some way to nerf them so that they can have more weapons. I like the idea of weapons existing. Perhaps maybe they need to supplement weapons with a secondary hero ability for some people. Like if you could heal with one hero ability and deal damage with the other, that might be interesting. Or you could have a very expensive hero ability in the weapon slot versus a cheap default hero ability. Anything that went in the weapon slot besides just your standard weapon would interest it. I also wonder if maybe this should just say weapon down here. I mean, this is the only design for weapons, so it's pretty obvious, but just for consistency's sake, it might be helpful. It's an 8 mana, 3 attack, 4 duration, 4 durability, or 4 use weapon. The durability is how many times you can use it, called the Silver Sword. After your hero attacks, your minions get +1/+1. That's going to be pretty helpful for a Paladin, so I definitely could see people playing that card too. And yeah, we're still very much, most of these cards just feel like they're filling in holes and not any great strategy. The biggest strategy I've seen so far for the first 4 heroes out of 9 has been this card, which I certainly will want to try and get and play for Murlocs. And we haven't seen a single Murloc in this expansion, and I doubt we will. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. Stay tuned if you're watching live. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. When you subscribe, make sure you click the notification bell. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below in the description. If you want to support me even further than that, gift me a game on Steam or gift me a gift card on Steam. Either way is very helpful to allow me to have games to create more content with. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.